Welcome to the JP8 Report. This is James Pierce with the JP8 Report today. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And this episode is episode 60. What goes around comes back around. Okay. So if you've noticed, my last podcast was almost 2 weeks long, and I did that on purpose. Because episode 59 was about redistricting in Texas, and the whole time the legislature, the House, the Senate, they've been going over the different maps for Texas. Some pretty profound changes. I was pretty close on some of what I was talking about, but when you put the meat in the meat grinder, it comes out in all kinds of different forms. So if you look on a map that on the last podcast, I put a link on there, so you would actually could go to the what the House and the Senate were debating. And here in Killeen, we have a donut hole. We have Hugh Shine's district is going to surround Brad Buckley's district. But on a high note, I get to keep my state representative, Shelby Slauson, from District 59. We're staying, Copper's Cove is still staying, it looks like, in Senate District 24. And I'm pulling for Pete Flores, if you're wondering. But I'm losing Roger Williams, it looks like, for my U.S. Congressman, but I'm gaining John Carter, okay, which is equally as good. So this is episode 60. What goes around comes back around. And remember, you can find me on Rumble and on YouTube and on Podbean. Okay. But please go to Rumble and listen to me through Rumble. That's my primary. Okay. So over the last few months, a lot's been going on with scandals after scandals, and then with Afghanistan and the pullout and the massacre of 13 Army soldiers and Marines in Kabul before the turn tail and run operation, leaving American citizens and SIV applicants behind, which should never, ever, ever be forgiven from Joe Biden. And I learned a new NASCAR motto the other day. It's called "Let's Go Brandon." Okay, go say it really fast and you'll figure it out. Okay, but so last few months there's been this commission that President Biden commissioned on, I believe it was April 4th. Okay, and gave him 6 months, bring up some recommendations about the judicial system, particularly the Supreme Court. So the draft got released yesterday. And the final report will be issued in November for President Biden for his consideration. So before we go, just so you know, there's 30 members of this commission. And the ratio from Democrat to Republican on this commission is 3-1 in favor of the Democrats. So they want a fair process, but they do an unfair representation. I mean, we live in a 50-50 country right now. And they're going to put, let's see. So if there's 3-1, so it'd be 10, 20, no, it'd be like 8 times 4 is 32. So basically it's 24 Democrats and 6 Republicans on this. And most of the Republicans are rhinos. So there's very, very few accurate representations of the United States that's on this commission. So they're going to fall in line with the progressives and moderates in the country instead of taking a screenshot of the entire country and what their views are, what should happen with the judicial system in the Supreme Court. So this is what they came up with. They are in favor of not packing the court. And let's go over this one thing. Packing the court is not when a liberal justice resigns or passes away from the court and they replace it with a Republican justice. That is not packing the court. So you stupid Democrats out there keep saying this stupid phrase, the Republicans pack the court unfairly with Republican justices. Let me introduce you to one cool piece of information. Republicans don't own seats on the Supreme Court, and Democrats don't own seats on the Supreme Court. The citizens of our country own those seats to the Supreme Court. The president in power at the time, with the consent of the Senate, determines who sits on the Supreme Court. Packing the court, if you really want to know, is what President Franklin Delano Roosevelt attempted to do with the recommendation in 1937, and then November 1938 got his butt handed to him in the midterm elections, and almost lost the Senate and the House in the process. So I guess the Democrats don't understand history. They don't know the history. They don't know the history of the Democrat Party. Democrat Party is the most anti-civil rights, anti-fairness, anti-democratic institution that the United States has ever known. And if you don't like it, you can leave my podcast. I don't care. I'm telling you the truth. They're the ones that were in power in the South when the Civil War started. Okay, after Reconstruction, they're the ones that regained power in the South and incorporated all these Jim Crow laws and segregationist policies. It took Republicans coming back into power to get rid of most of this stuff. It took Republicans to help LBJ to pass the civil rights legislation in the mid-'60s because he couldn't get enough Democrats to vote for it. So don't give me that load of BS that the Democrats are pro minority support. They just want to harbor the minorities of our country and keep them on welfare and assistance and say, we promise we'll help you, and they never come through. I don't understand why there are so many minorities that don't trust the Republicans. They just blatantly support the Democrats in office, and they don't get nothing out of it but misery and poverty, and that's all that's going to keep happening. So, let me step back off my soapbox. So they don't want to pack the court. They don't think that's a good idea. Smart move. Okay, but some of them did. We won't go into their names. But then they said that they're in favor of rotating justices on and off the Supreme Court with the Court of Appeals and maybe the U.S. District Courts. Now, my issue with that and everybody else's issue with that, Article 3, Section 1 of the United States Constitution says one Supreme Court. When you nominate, and the only Congress can expand the court. We know that. The House and the Senate, signature by the President. It hasn't been changed since, I believe, 1869, I think. Okay? And so only Congress can expand the court. So Article 3, Section 1 says one Supreme Court. Okay, that means if you are nominated and you confirmed by the Senate to the Supreme Court, your job is the Supreme Court. Like me, I'm an elected official. Okay, we'll put it plain and simple. I'm an elected official. I'm a trustee on a community college. I cannot go be elected as a state representative or a city councilman while I'm still a member of the board of trustees. Same thing in effect with someone that's actually representing the executive branch or judicial branch of the government. If you're confirmed as the Secretary of Treasury, you can't also be confirmed as the Secretary of Defense. We'll put it like that. Okay. The same thing is with a judge. A justice cannot be confirmed to the Supreme Court and at the same time be confirmed as a judge in the U.S. Court of Appeals or a U.S. District Court. You can't do that. You can't do it at all. It'll take a constitutional amendment, and right now I don't think the fever is there for anyone to go out and let's do an amendment to the United States Constitution. I know what amendment would pass: two of them, a balanced budget amendment and definitely term limits. So I wouldn't even release that dog to go bark because you're going to get bit. Okay, so we're going over that part. So the next issue that comes up: how do you prevent the Congress from doing something stupid like that, besides it being unconstitutional? Well, we still have the filibuster in the Senate, which prevents stupid legislation from going forward, stuff that doesn't benefit the people of the United States. Okay, and throwing money is not a benefit to the people of the United States. So it's the filibuster is key to the prevention of court packing. Right now we have a 50-50 Senate, 50 Democrats, 50 Republicans. You can debate it either way. How many actual Republicans are there and how many actual Democrats are there? We do know that 48 out of the 50 Democrats in the Senate support ending the filibuster, which would mean they could push through anything they want no matter what. Okay? But you have Senator Sinema and Senator Manchin that both say no, all legislation will be bipartisan. So we're not supporting ending the filibuster. Hopefully they can keep that up. We shall see. Okay? And to talk about that, why would you follow a United States senator into a bathroom and while she's trying to go to the bathroom, protest her? Why? And record her. I thought it was against the law anyway to record anybody in the bathroom. So how did this person not get arrested and charged with a crime? Don't know. I wish I knew. It should happen. The FDR, we already went over that. The filibuster prevents the terror of the majority. It protects the rights of the minority. Now, right now we have a 50-50 Senate. Hopefully, it'll be a Republican-led Senate in November of next year. So if that should happen, what do you think the Democrats would want to do in their as a minority member of the Senate? They're going to filibuster almost everything they can. So, what goes around comes back around. And it's going to happen over and over again over the history of our country. No matter how many times the filibuster rules have been changed, it is to protect the rights of the minority party from being trampled by the tyranny of the majority party. Take that to the bank and remember that. Chucky Schumer, which he probably won't be around. I shouldn't make bets, but I can almost bet my last dollar that Chuck Schumer gets primaried by AOC this coming spring in New York. We'll see about that. Okay, she might make that move to go up. Might be a good time for Republicans to mount a good serious challenge to the Senate so that they could really take back one of these seats. Regardless of what you think about Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, they're doing the right thing. They're doing the right thing, ensuring that there is a compromise in the Senate. You know, I don't understand why Joe Manchin has never converted over to the Republican Party, since his whole state is Republican except for him. You know, I wouldn't doubt if he gets most of his votes he gets are Republican votes in the general election. He should just go ahead and do it. He's got so much tenure in the Senate. He's going to get a committee anyway. They'll take care of him. The Republicans will take care of him. Kristen Sinema, she's still a Democrat, but she just has values. Maybe it's because she's a veteran. Okay. Without the filibuster, everything's going to change. I mean, just take a look at it. Things like voting and taxes, energy production and consumption, employment with unions and non-unions, environmental concerns, freedoms, quality of life, the debt, the $29+ trillion debt that we have in our country. The Democrats wanted to suspend the cap on the debt. They wanted an Amex card with no debt, with no credit limit. I have to deal with the credit limit on my credit cards. I do, in my business and in my personal life. Why can't the government? That's why a balanced budget amendment would be a really good thing for us to have. Some people debate that, but that's the truth. We all have a finite amount of money we can spend, and the more money you spend, the more you owe, and the less of quality of life you have. And now you compound with, like it was released a couple of days ago, a 5.4% inflation rate, which cuts into, and I bet that's even low. I can pretty much say that the inflation rate is probably closer to 10 to 12%. Maybe they're not gauging the right things when it comes to producing the inflation rate. Because wherever you go, everything's more expensive. Okay. You got Joe Biden out there with all his mandates and executive orders, and it's just killing us. And it says we need good, high-quality union jobs. Well, those good, high-quality union jobs comes with a price, which means a lot higher salaries. People that don't work, you get over and over again unfair representation. They want all these holidays off. They want all this money, and who pays in the long run? The consumer. The consumer pays in the long run because the price of the automobiles and John Deere tractors and everything, a post office and government business, because they're all unionized. They're public service unions. They charge more, which causes our prices to go up to be able to make everything function correctly. But at the same time, all the other prices are going up, which gives us less bang for our buck and makes everything much more expensive and allows you to have a lesser quality of life. If I'm wrong, leave me a comment and tell me I'm wrong. Okay. Voting. If there was no filibuster, we would already have, I believe, HB1 or HB4, which would change up and nationalize the entire election process in the United States, from nationalized standards to fundraising, to qualifications, to lowering the voting age even further from 18 down to 16. All that would change. I mean, if you give $200 to a campaign to a candidate, they would match it times 6, I think it is. So barely, you contribute a little bit of money, and that candidate gets well funded by the federal government, your tax dollars. And while we're talking about elections, the Democrats spent a little bit over $500 million on an election campaign last year. Okay, came out yesterday that Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook, $419 million of his money he spent for nonprofits during the 2020 election cycle, and he was funding nonprofits. And wherever he put his money in, if Joe Biden was leading, he increased his lead. And wherever Donald Trump was leading, his lead shrunk. So every time you see on Facebook, you just be careful who you give money to, and be cognizant of what's going on. Because like one thing I saw on Facebook, I always see it. It's like, are you registered to vote? Who's to say when you do that, it doesn't go back to one of Facebook's groups that funnels it all to the Democrats, and this person registered to vote. How about if we just call them and encourage them to go vote for our candidates? And that's probably what was happening. Okay. $419 million. Could you imagine if Donald Trump had $419 million more to campaign with? It'd be lopsided. Okay. The Democrats always complain about Citizens United Supreme Court ruling. They're dirty. They complain. They say it's the Republicans that are the cause of it, but it's the Democrats. Whether you have George Soros or Mark Zuckerberg, probably Warren Buffett's probably included in that, and Bill Gates is included in that. Jeff Bezos, because he owns the Washington Post. He uses that for political stuff. And then you have the New York Times. You have all the media content. Everything would be in the back for the Democrats. So you wouldn't see a Republican hold national office for a long time to come. Taxes. Who's here, by a raise of hand, is in favor of higher taxes? Same thing, right? With capital gains tax going up, or how about this? They're going to allow the IRS to investigate your bank accounts if you have any deposit or withdrawal over $600. It doesn't mean $600 over the course of the year. It means every time there is a withdrawal or deposit. And Nancy Pelosi was saying that, it's to ensure everybody pays their fair share in taxes. So if I want to give my daughter a $700 check, I'm going to get investigated, or I have the ability to be investigated, and so does she. I don't think that's fair. And she's playing her little game where everyone is going to be satisfied with what's in the reconciliation bill. But they just don't know it yet. What kind of BS is that? You got to pass the bill before you find out what's in the bill? Yeah, we know how that went over really, really good, right? Energy. Who likes paying $1.50 more per gallon of gas since Inauguration Day? And we can go on and on and on with what's going on in our country. How well are we prepared to deal with China? The backlog of ships at the port of Los Angeles because of these stupid regulations from the government of California saying that trucks can't be older than 2011. You got to go through all this health screening to be able to be a truck driver. Only unionized longshoremen are allowed to work there at the ports, and then the ports aren't open 24/7. And people complaining that they don't see nothing on the shelves. I was in a grocery store the other day, not a single roll of toilet paper on the shelves. But you may hear on the news, we need our toilet paper. We need to get them off the ships. Well, last time I checked, most of the toilet paper comes from, I believe, Canada. Um, so we need to produce more here in the United States, but at the same time, good old boy Joe Biden's not going to allow stuff like that to happen anyway, because he's probably in bed with China as it is because of his son being blackmailed. That's exactly what's probably happening. So, like I keep saying, okay, the progressives rule the roost right now in D.C. And you can call them progressives. They're in the Democratic Party, but there's no Democratic Party. Okay, and I'll quote Dan Bongino, because I listen to his podcast a lot. Okay, all Democrats are socialists, and most Republicans are Democrats. Okay, be careful who you choose to represent you. Complacency kills. So if you don't get out there and find people that are qualified to run for office, you're going to get the same old every single time, and all you're going to do is complain. Vote Republican, vote smart Republican, don't vote for Democrats. Keep a lot of this stuff from happening. We're almost a year away from the November 2022 midterms. Let's make a difference, okay? It's too late to do anything for this November, but next November, let's get some good, high-quality candidates to run for city councils, okay? And in school boards, don't let no one, if they're not qualified, get them an opponent, okay? It takes a little bit of time, a little bit of money, and a lot of dedication, but we can make this happen and prevent some of this bad stuff from going on. We'll have new congressional boundaries by then, so you just got to be prepared, okay? And, if dog catcher requires to be elected by the citizens of your city, run to be a dog catcher, okay? I'm joking. They don't do that no more. They're city employees now, all right? But it takes something. You got to get out there, and you got to be productive. You got to take a chance. I sacrifice a lot of my time on my elected position, and I still run a company, and I still have a family at home. Who cares what's on TV? That's what they make DVRs for. Okay, most in local government, most stuff is done on Tuesdays. Suck it up, Buttercup. Let's get some stuff done and protect our country and our state and our cities. All right. Thanks for tuning in today. I really appreciate it, okay? I'll talk to y'all later. Catch y'all on the flip side. This is James. I'm out.